I just wanted to show you something I've been playing with lately. It's a JavaScript engine called Pixi JS by Good Boy Digital. It's a pretty nice setup. It's actually a HTML5 renderer, and as I say in my blog post, it uses WebGL. If your browser has WebGL enabled, it will actually use that as the renderer, which means it's super fast. If it doesn't have WebGL, it will fall back automatically to canvas rendering. So you don't have to work on any of that. You don't have to worry about it. It just takes care of itself, which is pretty nice. This is their website, www.goodboydigital.com. And if you just do a Google search for Pixi JS, you'll see links to it. It's no problem. They also have actually a demo, a little demo game that they built with it, just so you can see how it runs on your browser. And I'll refresh the page so you can see it. This is a little game they whipped up using Pixi JS. Obviously there's a lot of other code in here that is not included with the standard Pixi JS library. Pixi JS is nothing essentially but a renderer and a display list. The game code they did for this game is completely separate from the Pixi JS library. But this would actually work on a mobile phone, theoretically. I don't think I've actually tested it on mobile, but I believe it works. And it's just a standard auto runner with a tap feature. You just tap and hold down to make Pixi fly. Right? And he runs and runs and runs, and you try to pick up things and avoid other things. It's a pretty standard little sort of phone mobile game. It runs really well on my computer. I'm using a 1 or 2 year old MacBook. It's actually a 2-year-old MacBook. Whoa, as you can see what happens when you hit one of the spikes. It runs pretty well. I'm running it on a 2011 MacBook Pro with standard 4 gigs of RAM, so it's running pretty fast. What's nice about this demo when you find it is that you can actually pull the source code for it. They haven't obscured the source code, which is really nice actually. If you use Firebug or any of the others, you can view source for the page. And you can actually pull up and see what they've used. They've got several scripts in here. They've got some plugins. They use Tweenlight, which is a GreenSock product that I've used. And they have Pixi JS library in here. And then they have this runpixirun.js. And let's see if I can pull that one up. So what you can do is actually take a look at their source code, which is nice. You can actually, they haven't obscured it, they haven't minified it or anything like that. So you can dig through their source code and see sort of how they handled some different things. It's really pretty nice. So definitely dig through that if you're looking to use this to build anything like a small game. But I am going to dig through the GitHub and show you some of the examples that are included on GitHub, and we'll just play with those and tweak them a little bit. So all you have to do is type in Pixi JS GitHub, and it will come up with the GitHub account. It's the second or third one usually. And here's files. Click on the files tab, and here is your GitHub clone repository. You can clone this and pull it down and start playing with it. And as you'll see, it actually comes with a set of examples that you can play with. So this is my IDE. This is IntelliJ. I use it a lot. I've actually been using it just for a month or two, and I'm really happy with it. But you can use any IDE you want. As you can see, this is what comes with from GitHub. You get binary, which is the actual Pixi JS file. That's what you would include if you're going to use this in any project. If you open that up, you'll see that it's actually minified. So this is not useful in terms of debugging or trying to pick through the code. It's completely unuseful, but it's minified so that you can include it with projects and it will be as small as humanly possible. There's a build folder which just has some scripts to actually create that binary, the minified file. There's docs. If you open the docs folder and you open the index HTML in a browser, It'll provide you with a full API reference. There's not much in there because Pixi JS is a pretty small library. I tend to actually prefer to pick through the source folder. And if you look in the source folder, you'll see all these files in here. This is actually, I prefer to pick through source code personally. You can certainly use the docs. They're not bad. They're very similar to docs I've created for my own personal stuff, which means that they have good little, very good but very, very basic information. If you really want to dig in to see how things work, you probably have to open up these source files. And as you can see, this is created by Flash devs, clearly. They've even pinched some of Flash's terminology, like display object, movie clip, sprite, stage. These are all Flash terms. So if you have worked in Flash and worked with a Flash display list, this will all be very familiar to you. This will be fairly simple for you to use. Now, what I really want to dig into, though, is these examples. They have several examples included in the GitHub account. And the one I'm going to work with today is the basic. So you open up the basic, and you can see it only has 3 files. It has bunny.png, that's just the image for the demo. It has the Pixi JS library, and it has this index file, which I've already got open here. Now, what does it do? Well, if we go back to my browser, we can actually look at it. This is the demo running. All it does is takes this little bunny image and spins it around in circles. It's running a little chunky right now, but that's because I'm running my screen recorder, so my computer's working pretty hard right now. Normally when I'm not running my screen recorder, it runs real nice and smooth for me. So let's go back to see how this works. You can see the script. I will, let me see if I can zoom in so you can actually read my code. Give you nice big fonts. So you can see there's not much here. It's got a title tag, tiny bit of styling, a script that includes the Pixi JS library, and then this script is actually what runs the demo. So they create a stage, they create a renderer. As you can see, it's an auto detect renderer, and they give it a size 400 by 300. The stage has a background color, which is that putrid green color. We can change that if we want. I will probably not bother. What do you say? Why don't we just go ahead and change it? Let's see if we can change it to something else. FF. Oh. That'll be bright red. Save it. Click back over to our demo. Refresh. And it's bright red. So sure enough. Let's see what else we can do. I'm going to change this to a darker red because that bright red's a little hard on my eyes personally. Let's change it to, let's change it to, try that. See what that did for us. Yeah, a nice dark red with the bunny spinning in the middle. Alright, let's go ahead and change the size of the stage because the stage is pretty small. I'm going to go ahead and make it 600 by 400. So you can see what's nice about these examples is you can actually pick through them. They've got the basic code in here, and you can pick through them and start tweaking the values and see what they do, which is great. Yep, and that increased my stage size, which was nice because I want it bigger. Now you can see they've got this document body, append child, renderer view. So basically the actual canvas or WebGL does not actually exist in the page when this loads. You can see the body has nothing but a script tag in it, and then it ends. So it actually appends the renderer view onto your page for you. This request animation frame is just to get the rendering started. And then they create a texture, which is your bunny.png. You can change it, put a different image in there if you want to play with that. And then they create a sprite, what they call a sprite. And they put the texture in there. They throw it on the stage. The anchor point is set to be the middle of the bunny. If you'll notice, if we go back here, he's spinning around on his center point. And that's what that does. His position X and position Y put him in what used to be the center of the stage. Now I made the stage bigger, so let's go ahead and change that as well. How big did I make that? And we'll go back here. Refresh, we'll put him back in the middle again. There we go. and they add him. Again, this is Flash terminology. Add child. They add the bunny to the stage, and then they've called this animate function once, and what it does is it recursively calls itself over and over and over, and it rotates the bunny a little bit each time, and this will run, because of the way they're doing this will basically run as fast as it can, which if things are running well should be about 60 frames a second. In my case, because I'm running a screen recorder, you can see it's actually running kind of chunky and slow. On older browsers it may run pretty slow. You actually will not want to do this way. If you're writing any genuine code for animation or games, you're going to want to actually create a rendering loop that keeps track of how fast it's running and keeps things running smoothly. This request animation frame call that they're doing, and just relying on that as the rate, is not a very reliable way to do that. So you're not going to want to do that. But for demo purposes, it's fine. As you can see, each loop they also call render, just to make sure it renders out to the stage. So anyway, what's nice about this, as I've said, is this library actually recreates the Flash display list. So if you're used to working with Flash and putting movie clips inside other movie clips inside other movie clips, it works exactly the same way. Now that is not what they've done here, but we can actually tweak this code and just do an example of that. So they've created a bunny, right? Why don't we see if we can create several bunnies? Let's see if we can create several. For var I equals 0, I is less than, let's do 5, I plus plus. Right, and we will do it this way. We'll create var bunnies. It'll be an array. Okay, so we now have an array that we're going to create of bunnies, and we'll say, we'll change this around. We'll say bunnies sub I. Whoops. Sorry, I'm still getting used to the Mac here. I keep hitting the delete key, expecting it to delete my next letter, but delete on a Mac is backspace, and I'm still getting used to that. Sorry about that. And we'll copy this. Alright. And then we will do, we'll have to change this one as well. We'll also have to put that same for loop in here. Bunny sub I. So all we've done here is we're creating an actual array of bunnies. Now, right now, it's not going to look like I've done anything because I've got them all positioned in the same spot. But let's see if this even works or if I've crashed it. So let's reload. Right, so they're all actually in there spinning, but the problem is they're all in the same spot. Let's spread them out so we can actually see them. Let's do x equals, we'll keep the y position of every bunny at 200, but we'll say x equals 100 times I. See if that works. So this should actually create a line of spinning bunnies. And there we go. It did. Alright, so now we got 5 spinning bunnies. Right? Now what's cool, again, is that this, again, I'm trying to stress that this recreates the Flash display list. All we've done so far is we've created 5 bunnies and we've added them to the stage. Well, that's really not that impressive. You know, I can add a billion things to the stage and that's very simple. But what's really, really cool about this is we can create, if I scroll up here, we can create something to hold the bunnies and then animate that too. So why don't I do that? Var bunny holder equals new Pixi dot. Now, in this case, if you look down here, we created a Pixi sprite. A sprite is something that has a texture in Pixi. Movie clips use sprite maps. They're to be animated. Sprites are assumed to not be animated, and they have a single texture. If you want something that is just an empty clip to dump things in, that's called display object container. Okay. Again, and I found this by picking through the samples, not the samples, the source code. If you go back over here to Pixi and you open it up and you scroll down, you can see what's in here. And I find it by picking through the source code. You can find it by going through the docs as well. But basically, if you need what would be a movie clip or a sprite in Flash that would not have anything in it, that would not have a texture of its own, would actually just be a container for other things, that in Pixi is called a display object container. And so I created a new one called bunny holder. And now what I'm going to do is, instead of adding the bunnies to the stage, I'm going to add the bunnies to bunny holder. Okay? And then I'm going to add bunny holder to the stage. Now this is going to reposition them because I haven't changed my anchor point for bunny holder, so it'll probably put them up in the upper left-hand corner of the stage when I do this. Let's see what it does. Oh, no, it doesn't. You know why? Even though my clip that I'm using is up here, is centered right here in the upper left-hand corner of the stage, I've still got these guys positioned like this. And so I'm going to move them, and I'm going to move them to position Y, so they'll be centered on my new bunny holder clip. And I'm going to subtract 250 from this, and that should, let me think. Actually, I can't remember if I need to subtract. Let's see what that does. I think I probably need to subtract 300, but we'll see. No, I need to subtract 200. Again, I'm just hacking around, so this is a great way to get familiar with the library, just playing around with it. And the nice thing is that because they have included some examples, it's real easy to do so. So now I've got my bunnies actually centered on my new bunny holder display clip. My display object container, I should call it. But my display object container, as you can see, is centered at 0, 0. So some of them are off the screen. Well, I'm going to bring it back in and say, I'm going to copy this guy and bring it up here and move this down into the center of my screen so I can actually see it. And I'll put this in the center of my screen. So that was 200 and 300. So that ought to put my bunnies back in the center of my screen. Again, if you're used to working with Flash or ActionScript, this should all be very familiar to you. And there we go. I've got my 5 spinning bunnies centered on my screen. What's crucial about this is I've now got them in another clip. And so I can actually animate that clip. So let's do that. Okay, now on every frame, I'm spinning all my bunnies. Well, let's do bunny holder dot rotation, and let's spin this one the opposite way. Minus equals 0.003. We'll spin it slower. Okay. So now what you'll see is you'll actually see that all 5 bunnies spinning on their own, and the entire line of them spinning as well. If I did this right. And there we go. So anyway, as you can see, this is a pretty cool library to play around with. It's very, very familiar if you're used to working in Flash. It works almost exactly the same way. And I find it really nice. And even though this is running kind of slow and chunky, I promise you that if you are running it in a relatively new computer on a newer browser like Safari or Chrome, it'll run nice and smooth and fast. It's actually pretty impressive how smooth and fast it runs. Mine's just running slow because of my screen recording. So anyway, I would suggest you download Pixi JS from GitHub and open up the examples and start picking away at it. Start adding some features and start adding some interactivity. They've got this interaction manager they've just added. I haven't played with that yet. If you take a look, let's open this up so you can see it. Interaction manager, this actually handles some of the interactivity. I have not played with that yet at all, but I know it's in there, so that's probably the next thing I'll start playing with. You know, build some HTML5 games with it. So that's all I wanted to show you. Good luck.